Hello and welcome to another edition of It's Your City. I'm Bob Crowell and I have the honor and privilege of being the mayor of the greatest city in Nevada, our very own capital. And as you know, every couple of weeks, it's been a while since I've been on It's Your City. I try and give a rundown of what happened at the last board meeting and also some of the other things happening around Carson City that you might find of interest or import. First, let me say we got a little bit of good news this past week on the unemployment rate issue. The state unemployment rate dropped to 8%. Carson City dropped from 9.8 to 7.8%, which is real good news. The other side of that coin is, and there are a couple other sides of that coin, is that one, it's still high, very high in my opinion, and two, I don't know how it's calculated based upon, if it takes into calculation based on the number of people who actually left the workforce, or if it's those who are actively seeking work. And I think it's the latter. The actively seeking work is used to calculate the unemployment rate. So I don't know that we know exactly how many people have left the labor force. But regardless, having our unemployment rate go to 7.8% is good news. Of course, behind every percentage point, or tenth of a percentage point, or hundredth of a percentage point of an unemployment rate is the face of a wage earner in our community who is unable to find work to support themselves and their families. And so we need to make sure that we keep our eye on the employment bubble and the employment issues in Carson City, to do what we can to, all of us, government included, to try and make sure that we drive our unemployment rate down to where we have a wonderful community where everybody who wants a job can find a job. And of course, that's a big part of where I come from in terms of community development, because I think that at the end of the day, what we want is a sustainable community, and for our community to be sustainable over the long run, to take care of both the older, the retired population and the younger generation, is we need to create a quality of life in our community and an infrastructure in our community that is attractive to people to come here to want to live, work, learn, and play. So we're going to continue on down that road. And hopefully we're going to make additional strides in lowering the unemployment rate in our great little community here. Also, let me say that at the last board meeting, the board approved unanimously the contract with Nick Morano, who is to become our next city manager. Mr. Morano will take office on June 2nd of this year. As you probably read in the paper, he is a retired Marine colonel, having left his last job as being the commanding officer of the Camp Pendleton Marine Base. I've had a lot of discussions with Mr. Morano, and I look forward to working with him in moving our community forward. And I also want to tell you that it's my impression of Mr. Morano that he wants to get out and meet each and every one of you and be an active part of our community, and not just a city manager who comes in and does what they're going to do and then looks for another city manager job. I believe that Mr. Morano and his wife and family want to become active members of our community. And I know there's been some concern in the past about whether or not a city manager should reside in Carson City. Regardless of how you fall down on that issue, Mr. Morano is, the contract that we have with him requires him, absent extreme circumstances, to reside in Carson City. And I know that he's looking at, as you see this, he's looking at places to live in our great community. So let's all try and give him a warm welcome when he gets here, and work with him to make sure that our community keeps going on a forward path. Also at the board meeting, the board made another decision to make sure that the multi-athletic center, multi-purpose athletic center goes forward. Over the years, as you've heard me say a number of times, over the years we have done various planning exercises every time we change our mind on where that athletic center is going to go, or what it's going to look like, and how big or how small it should be. Every time that happens, we spend more planning dollars and more staff time. We have exceeded somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million in looking at, as I call it, changing our mind over the last 10 years or so. And so, it's time to make those decisions and time to confirm and ratify the decisions we've made in the past. And the board in the past said that it should go with the boys at the location at the Boys and Girls Club. And the Boys and Girls Club has also wanted it there because they have a lot of people, a lot of children who could use the multi-athletic center. And so there was some concern in the community as to whether or not that was the right place to put it, or should it be put in Mills Park or somewhere else. And I guess don't guess, but I know that the idea was to say, you know, we need to make our mind up. And so the board said it's going to go, the multi-athletic center is going to go near the Boys and Girls Club on that site in that area. The Boys and Girls Club testified that they really wanted to see it at that site. We're going to make sure that the facility is built in such a manner that it can accommodate not only our local residents, but team sports that are sports that want to come in from the outside. I know that's a very big part of sports tourism. It's a very big part of how our Parks and Rec Department and how other other entities in the government are funded. It's a big deal. So we're going to make sure that we cover both of those bases. And I want the residents to know there that we're going to do our level best to make sure that parking and traffic is handled in a way where the disturbance on our local community there is minimized. Also, on speaking of that, the board had before it a tentative plan to implement the projects included in the plan of expenditure for the 8% sales tax increase that was approved earlier this year. As part of that draft plan, the board asked that the construction, the design, and the final design and construction of the MAC be expedited. If we could do that under the terms of, you know, under the financing capabilities we might have in our community, short of, you know, it'd have to be some form of, it'd have to be coordinated with the bonding ability we have under the 8 cent. But we're assured that, you know, at least there's some ideas about how we can bridge that gap between when the funds are available and when the design and when the construction can start. So we're going to hopefully look forward to breaking ground on that later this year. And then we'll at the same time be progressing on the plans for the animal shelter and also our corridor improvements, both on the north, east, and south and downtown corridors. So we have a draft plan on how we're going to, at least on the timelines that we're going to deal with on that, which is a good thing, because as I mentioned at the board meeting, and not just me mentioning it, the tax increase is one thing. The heavy lift now comes in the city performing on its obligation, what it said to the taxpayers it's going to do, and that is the construction of those projects. And so those are by no means small steps to be taken, and it's going to require a lot of dedication, a lot of dedicated staff time, and we may need some outside consultants to help make that happen. But I'm pretty comfortable that our staff has the wherewithal, in conjunction with others that it has helping it, to accomplish the goal that tax was imposed for. So that's a good thing. Also, we approved going forward with applying for a home, that's an HOME grant, to help facilitate the acquisition and development by Fish of a transitional housing facility on the area known as Janelle Drive here in Carson City. That would, the city would be the recipient of the home funds, the grant funds, and then they would in turn subgrant those to Fish so that Fish could create a transitional housing facility for people who are in need of transitional housing, and there are a number in our community. It's a big need. So my hat's off to the Fish and its board of directors for, you know, having a forward-looking view on how we deal with transitional housing, and hopefully we're going to be able to secure some home funding. There was an issue that is raised on all these issues with respect to home funds, and that is they're a 20-year obligation, and for 20 years you have to make sure, the city has to make sure that the facility is still being operated in the manner in which it was intended to be operated. And so those are the things that we've looked at. We feel pretty comfortable that that this project will meet those criteria and give us the comfort of knowing that they have the wherewithal to complete it. So I look forward to seeing that project completed in our community, because as I said, in my opinion, transitional housing there's a big need in our community. So congratulations to Fish on that. Let me also say that some things that weren't mentioned, probably in June this year, we're or maybe the first part of July, we're going to have another joint meeting with between the Board of Supervisors and the school board. We agreed at the last joint meeting that we would try and do this twice a year. That time is now upon us, where we're going to make sure that the strategic goals of both Carson City and as a municipality and the Carson City School District tailor their programs and their efforts towards creating a community that where all the educational resources are knitted together to create a community where culture, where education is a paramount value. And I think that we are on the right step with the school board. And my hat's off to the school board for what it's doing in order to engage our population, our business community, and also others in the education system for the betterment of our community. And you may have heard me say this as well, that, you know, in my view, education is the source of all things good. I mean, in terms of development issues. And it's an important step that we make sure that our goals are mutually acceptable and that we're all on the same page and going down the same path. Let me say in conclusion, when I taped this, I just left a meeting of Partnership Carson City, which is, I'm on the advisory committee for that board, and I was told then that the executive board of the Partnership Carson City is considering doing a town hall meeting on medical marijuana. So we will see if the executive board can put that together in the next month or so, be a town hall meeting on medical marijuana and the ups and downs of that. So that's about it for It's Your City this time. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me at City Hall or send me an email at bcrowell@carson.org. And I'm available hopefully most any time. So let me close by saying thank you for what you do for our community. Things can't be done by government alone. They are done by the folks looking at this video. It takes all of us to move our community forward. So it is just a great place to work, learn, live, and play. Thank you again.